'Cause I knew you were trouble when you walked in. Took me to places I've never been.
Hey guys, what is up? It's Grace and I'm back with another video. So I thought that with spooky season quickly approaching, which I'm so excited for, I would film this video. I have wanted to film this video for years. Like, things have been happening non-stop literally since I was 6, but I was always too scared to. I was afraid that whatever I'm going to talk about in this video would come back and like hurt me, but I've really grown in my faith like over the past year, and if you don't believe in that, that's cool, but I do, and I just feel like it can't really hurt me anymore. Like, I'm older, I'm kind of more mature now, so I just came to the point that I thought that this is a really cool story and kind of like a cautionary story, I guess. So I thought that I would share it with you all. Happy September. Let's get this started. I'm gonna be talking about the time that my house tried to kill me. Kind of, Evie's next to the bed, so she's like moving. That's what you hear. She's actually on the bed, but I'm going to start with the context of this story. So when I was 6, we moved to Kentucky from Florida, and we moved into a house that was already in the process of being built, but it wasn't built all the way, so like we kind of got to choose some of the stuff like for it and whatever. We lived in a hotel for like a few months while it was being finished, but this house was absolutely gorgeous. It was the first one to be built in the neighborhood, and it was just kind of in a field. We think it was like an onion farming field because there's onions like everywhere, but that's kind of beside the point. Basically, just keep in mind that we were like the first people to live on it, so we think that may have something to do with, thank you, Evie, we think that may have something to do with the things that happened. Like, it could have possibly been like Native American like land, or where like, you know, settlers were, because Kentucky is kind of where all that happened. We have a lot of history concerning like the Civil War and stuff. Evie is really moving with the Civil War and stuff, so it wouldn't surprise me. We don't really know what's in there, but there's definitely some sort of history. I'm gonna start this by saying like the house was always like spooky. There was always something going on. If you looked downstairs, because you could see like straight down the steps from upstairs, the house was extremely open. You could see like some things walking like downstairs, like just dark figures, and you would never know what they were. And I asked my mom about this the other day, because I said, Mom, could you see that like when you were there, or am I crazy? And she said, literally, she said, and I quote, "I saw them, but I didn't want to tell you guys because I didn't want to freak you out." So like my mom was seeing this stuff too. It wasn't just me. Yeah. First thing that happened, my grandma is really superstitious. Anything that happens, she usually reverts back to something that like happened to you, and that's why the thing happened. So one day we had 2 birds flying to our house, which is very, very bad luck. If you know, Evie, please don't touch that. Evie, if you know about superstition, like birds in your house, very bad. To have 2 in your house, very bad. And we just kind of laughed at her, but after that, like, the things kind of got worse. Like, that house was extremely spooky. I actually would have nightmares, like horrible nightmares of things like coming and like trying to get me in my sleep, and it was always in that house. I would actually still have nightmares. Like today, I will still have nightmares about things coming to attack me, and every time I dream about like being home, I'm in that house. Like, I'm not in this house, I'm not in any other house I've ever lived in. I'm in that house, and things are always trying to come and get me. So that just kind of happened after the birds. And I also, this house made me develop a fear of the dark. I will sleep like with the lights on. Oh, literally, if I'm doing homework, I'll just fall asleep with that light on, because like I'm so like scared of the dark. Like, the more the merrier. This house made me so scared of the dark, because you could see things. My room was at the end of like a dark hallway, and you could hear footsteps on the hallway. And my sister and I shared a room for a while, and she would like to leave the door cracked, and you could like see things like walking down the hallway. Like, you probably think I sound insane, but I can remember it clear as day. Like, I remember everything. It's really spooky. and it's spooky season, so I'm like, if you don't want to believe me, that's fine, I don't care, but, you know, it's spooky season, and I'm, like, just think about how I've been too scared to talk about this since I was 6, and I'm 19 now. That definitely says something about how traumatizing it was. So, whatever was in this house, it also did not like adults. It didn't bother me, my sister, and my brother until, like, me and my sister got older, when we were, like, because I think I moved out, I was 17, 16 maybe when we moved out, so I was still kind of at that age where, like, it didn't really mess with me until, like, I turned 16, but it would mess with my sister, it would mess with my mom, it would hurt, like, when it hurt, but, like, emotionally and mentally, it would mess with, like, the adults in my family, which I'm gonna get into. So that was something. My mom actually, she didn't start getting sick until we moved into this house. It wasn't that bad until we moved back in, because we moved out and back in, but I remember, I think it was before we moved. No, it was after we moved back in, because it was after my great-grandma died, but she would see my great-grandma, and she would come and talk to her every night, even after she got off the pain medicine, after we moved back in, and my mom would always say, like, oh, it was such a blessing to see her, but I just feel like everything in that house was so, like, evil, like, it wasn't something that made you feel good, it was something that kind of kept you on edge, that I just can't believe that it was my great-grandma. I think that it was something trying to be my great-grandma, and, like, you know how that goes, like, messing with my mom, trying to get her to do things, because it was not Granny. Rest in peace, Granny, I love you, but, you know. So, when I moved out, I was going into the 6th grade, and we moved into just, like, a bigger house. We built another one, like, kind of farther away, because we had a growing breeding farm for horses, and it just wasn't a good place for us to be anymore. It was really small for all the horses that we had. So, we moved out, and everything kind of stopped. I mean, for the most part, yeah, it was still kind of spooky, but, like, what house isn't spooky when you're in the middle of nowhere, honestly? But the renters that moved in, because we didn't sell our house because, like, the market was bad, I don't know, we just could not sell it for whatever reason, so we rented it out to this family, and the mom was Native American. When we moved in at first, she didn't really have that much that had to do with, like, her culture out. Like, she had some things, but it wasn't, like, a huge, like, you know, like, dream catchers everywhere and everything. Well, we would come and visit, and as we would, like, visit progressively, there would be more, like, dream catchers and things that just take away, like, bad omens and bad vibes, in the culture that she's in. So, we noticed that, and she was also diagnosed with some disease. I think it was, like, a chronic illness. I'm not sure what it was, but she got really, really sick when she moved into this house, and she had never had, like, any health problems before, so they kind of wanted to move out when we moved back in. Like, it just worked out that way, because we ended up, like, getting rid of our horses and everything, so it was just more, like, economical to move back into that house, and it was easier to sell the other one, so we ended up back at the original house, and they moved out, and she was sick, and that was just, like, she knew something was up. There's no way she did not know something was up, yet she put up all these things. Then, when I was, I think it was my sophomore year, it was the spring break of my sophomore year, we took a family trip to Key West. Now, before I talk about this, my dad traveled a lot. Like, he was home about 8 days a month because he was traveling so much, and when he would come home, he wouldn't be able to sleep. He would not, he would get, like, cranky. He would just, mentally, like, he'd get, like, kind of foggy, and I think that that had something to do with whatever it is does not like adults, and my dad would sleep in the basement sometimes. He would just fall asleep, like, watching TV in his man cave, which he would, like, or he would not be able to sleep, and he'd just be down there, like, trying to sleep and watching stuff all night, and it just would not work, and as the years went on, it got worse, which leads me to think that whatever is in that house had something to do with, like, maybe, like, a settler who, I don't know, but it's in the modern times, it's not as weird to not have a husband around, but back then it was a big deal. Like, the husband is the head of the household, the wife stays home and cooks. Like, it's not like he's gone all the time. So I think that whatever was in there had kind of those beliefs, and did not like my dad for that, because he really, like, would get the short end of the stick a lot, and just bad things would happen when he was there. So that's something to keep in mind. And then when we went to Key West, my dad was there, my mom was there, and, like, my family was there. It was, like, me and my 2 siblings. And Key West is a very, very historical area. They have, like, battlegrounds, and they have, like, stuff, really cool things there, but that also leaves a lot of place for, like, suspicious things and, you know, ghosts or whatever. So we went on a ghost tour when we were there. We were only there for, like, one night, and my dad wanted to do it. My sister has always been into that stuff, and so has my brother, so we did. You know, I'm over here, like, scared of the dark, whatever. Had no choice. So it was fine. We just drove around. They would talk about the ghost in the town. But then we went to, like, this camp where, like, it had, like, walls where, I forgot what they're called, but it had walls where, like, soldiers could look out, and there was, like, a area in the center where they would sleep. There was, like, a little prison area. But in the walls, they had, like, tunnels. And in these tunnels, they had put haunted objects in them. And I don't know if anyone has heard of him, but there is a doll, and he's said to be, like, the most haunted in America, but I hadn't heard of him until then, so I don't know how true that is, but his name is Robert, and he was there. They had him in, like, a glass case, and he still terrifies me to this day. I think he's mainly, like, part of the reason I have not filmed this video. He just scares the absolute heck out of me. Not a fan. So it is said that if you go and see Robert, you have to ask him to take a picture with him. So if you don't, bad things are supposed to happen. Like, you'll die, you'll get sick, your family will die, your pets will die. Just, like, bad things are associated with not asking him. So, you know, everyone's asking him and taking a picture before they take pictures. I did not. I just kind of, like, got kind of close to him, close enough to see, like, yep, that's a doll, that's a creepy looking doll, and I kind of ran the other way. But my dad, he has a very interesting personality. He does not like to do what he's told, which I'm kind of the same way. We're both really independent. If there's a better way to do things, we'll do that, and usually it turns out better for it. But in this situation, like, I don't mess with that. Like, no, if they tell me to ask before I take a picture and I want to take a picture, I'm gonna ask. I'm not gonna chance it. So he was just, like, taking pictures. He's like, I'm not scared, you know, taking pictures of the doll, taking selfies with the doll, taking pictures of my brother and the doll, and it scared me to death. Ever since then, I just had a totally different, like, feeling. I had a different feeling when we drove back to the hotel that was in, like, a different set of the keys. I had a bad feeling when we got home. And I associate Robert with a lot of the bad things that happened in that house when things went on, because it's just too coincidental that, okay, so Key West is the last trip we went on as a family, before, like, my parents got divorced that summer, and it was a long time coming. Like, I'm not saying, oh, he's the reason they got divorced, but it's just too coincidental that, like, things just kind of imploded after that. So we went to, when we got back, things got a lot worse. My parents decided they were going to get a divorce in August is when they told us. And in October, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, stage 3 cancer, as well as stage 4 COPD, which are both obviously very, very serious things. And my mom had never smoked. She just had asthma. That's the only reason they can find behind the reason that she had COPD. And obviously cancer, there's really no reason to, like reason why it comes. It just kind of hits people. So my mom got really, really sick right after that. And I actually got really mad at my dad one time, and I told him that the reason everything bad happened was because he took pictures of the doll. And that's just a whole nother story. I can talk about, I can do a video on my dad if you want me to. He's a very interesting person. So anyway, I had a dog. Her name was Lucy. I don't remember if I've had any videos with her or not, because she was a big dog, so she kind of lived outside on the farm. But on rainy nights or when it was cold out, she would sleep under my bed because my bed's really high off the ground. And you could hear her, like, scratch under the bed and move around, and just, like, you could hear, like, her feet. So my December of my junior year, so, like, August and then October, my mom, and then December, I wanted to go to Digitour really bad. So I took a bus to my friend's house, and it was in Knoxville. So, and then we went to Digitour. Well, the next day I got back, and my mom had just had a surgery, like, the day I was gone. That's part of the reason I went to. She really didn't want me to be there to see that. And when I got back, my mom had told me that Lucy had passed away. They don't know why. They think it might have been parvo, but there's no reason. Like, she was updated on her shots, that she just was, like, gone. And obviously I was really, really upset about that. It was really hard for me to get over that, and that's part of the reason I got Evie, is because I just missed having, like, someone I was so close with, especially since I'm such an animal person. It was just really hard for me. But every night until we moved, I could hear scratching under my bed, like, only, like, Evie would do, and no other dogs, like, would be in my room. Nothing except for me would be in my room, and I would hear scratching under my bed until the day I moved out. Which I used to think it was Lucy, and she was just showing me she was okay, like, she was still there, and maybe that's the case, but a darker side of me says it's not, and whatever was there since I was older was trying to mess with me and get my attention. I never looked under my bed. I was always too scared. But I just know, like, there was nothing else in my room that it could have been that sounds like claws on the floor. So this final story is kind of the icing on the cake. This is when the house tried to kill me. This is the climax of the story, like, the bada bing, this is it. I think it was my junior year as well. It was spring break of my junior year, and I did not go anywhere. And it was, like, the first year I hadn't gone anywhere, so I was kind of really upset, especially since, like, the year ago we went to Key West, we had such a good time, and this year, like, my life was in a really dark place. So I stayed home, and my mom and my brother went to Cincinnati for the day, and my sister, I don't know where she was. I mean, she was in the Bahamas, because it was, like, her senior trip. So I was home alone. My dad had moved to Miami, so he was gone. It was literally just me in this house, and it was, like, a really stormy day. I remember it was, like, tornado weather, and, like, my mom still would not come home, and I was really mad about it. So I was in a bad mood. So I was with our 3 dogs at the time, Harley, Sophie, Bella, and I was just talking to them, and I decided to take a shower. So I went and I took a shower. I had because my bedroom is connected to my bathroom. It was like a Jack and Jill bathroom, and then the door right here would lead the hallway, and you would go out the hallway to leave. It's kind of hard to explain, but there's, like, a door here and a door here, and my bedroom was this room. So I left the doors open. Like, I mean, my house was locked. I didn't really care to close anything. Like, I wanted to be, if the dogs needed me, they could have me. So I just left everything open, just showered, got out of the shower, and I could hear Harley under my bed. And, like, I knew Lucy scratched, but, like, it was during the day, so I was like, okay, it's Harley. Like, Harley's under my bed. He goes under there during the day if he knows I'm in the shower. Like, it's known to happen. So I got dressed, whatever, didn't do anything about it. And then I went to leave, and I said, Harley, come on, Harley, so I could close the door, because I don't want them in there if I'm not in there. And Harley comes running in down the hallway from the kitchen, so I, like, jump and look under the bed, and nothing was there. But I could still hear the scratching while I was looking under the bed. Like, you could hear the scratching on the floor, but nothing was there. So I was obviously terrified. So I took the dogs and we went and sat on the back porch, like our back balcony, and I called my mom and I told her like she had to come home and I couldn't do this, something weird is going on, and she would not answer me. I had like 5% on my phone because when I tried to plug my phone in, my charger had mysteriously broken into 2 pieces. I put this on my Snapchat, so if you follow me on Snapchat and you've been around long enough, you probably remember this. I was literally freaking out, and so like my charger was broken, my phone was gonna die. I was literally on the back porch like fearing for my life. So I kind of mustered up enough courage that I was going to go back in and just wait it out because, again, it was like literally storming. I was just on a covered deck, like I needed to be inside. So I walked back in and every single cabinet was open. Every single one. And no one was there. Like, no one was in the house except for me, and I took all the dogs around the back porch. Not that the dogs could open a cabinet that's like 6 feet off the ground anyway. Like, even the ones that I can't reach were opened. So at that point I called my mom and flipped out, and she came home, but that was kind of like terrifying. That's when I knew whatever was in the house was like trying to hurt me, and I really didn't sleep that much after that. I developed insomnia, which I don't know if you can develop insomnia, but like, I don't know. I just did not sleep at all. Like, they put me on meds, and I still could not sleep. I was just terrified. I would still see things walking downstairs. I would still hear scratching every single night. But I loved that house for whatever reason. Like, I love that house. So when we moved again, so we moved into another house, and I was devastated. I did not talk to my mom for a long time. Like, I tried to do everything I could to stay in this house. I told my mom that I was going to move back in as soon as I could, that it wasn't fair, that there's no way that, like, this is happening. I even vowed to myself and, like, to my mom that as soon as I could, as soon as I was old enough and I had, like, a family, I would move back into that house, and that's where my kids would grow up, which is not normal. My brother and I both had a very unhealthy attachment to this house. Not normal. It was really not at all, and that's what makes me think that something was there the most, because I really think it had a hold on me and my brother because we were there for so long, and whatever it was, watched us grow up. So it was honestly, like, when I look back on it, every time I drive past that house, I'm still, like, shook, terrified, weird. I cry if I drive past it because it just makes me emotional in ways that are not normal. So the last thing I want to say is it actually is still for sale. The bank has it and they auctioned it off, and the funny thing is, someone got in contact with my mom about the house because they wanted to buy the house. So my mom gave them the information to go to the bank and get the house, go to the auction, told them however much it was. So whenever the bank put it out for auction, they bought it, like, they tried to buy it for the amount that the house was listed for. But for some reason, we don't know why to this day, the bank took that, like, would not accept the amount, and they raised the amount even more, and so no one lives there. And my mom said she drove past it the other day, and the grass is, like, up to, like, you know, like, my chest. Like, it's really, that Kentucky grass grows. And it's, like, abandoned, and it's just, like, there, really. The bank hasn't done anything with it. So that sale fell through, which makes me think that whatever is in that house had something to do with it. And they had something to do with it not selling the first time when we tried to move out, which is just a hunch. But, I mean, if you think about it, now whatever is there has had the house to themselves for about 2 years, to just roam around in. It's literally so open. It reminds me of, like, the Haunted Mansion. It's got, like, big columns, like, it's got, like, a great room, which literally there's no reason for a great room, honestly. It's just like a great room, like it sits there. So I really do think that whatever is in there had a lot to do with the sale falling through, and it just wants to be alone, which that's fine. If it wants to be alone, I'm not going to mess with it. I feel like if I ever tried to go back, it would not be good. Lucy is buried there, so I have gone back a couple times just to hang out with Lucy. Whenever I was really upset through like high school, I would go and like visit her, and that would make me feel better. But technically that is trespassing, so I haven't gone in like a year. But yeah, we want to get it like investigated by like Ghost Adventures, or like there's a couple places in our city that like will do it, and they like that's what they do, they investigate ghosts. So if anyone has connections with like Zach Baggins, let me know, because he just needs to know. He just needs to see this. He just needs to know what's up. We really want to know. Like, it's something that I'm going to wonder for the rest of my life, really what happened at this house. That's basically it. My childhood was obviously just a series of me being terrified of my own house. It did try to kill me that one time, and that was something. That was, literally, I thought it was so weird. So, one more thing. A couple of days ago, I was watching, like, ghost stories on YouTube, and you know how Snapchat has, like, the memories? It came up, and I have not watched ghost stories in so long. There's no reason why I would. Like, I just had, like, a weird feeling, like I was in the mood. Well, Snapchat memories came up, and it showed me that exactly 2 years ago, from that day, was when the house went crazy, and like the cabinets were open and all that. My phone charger broke. So that kind of was like the main motivation behind me like filming this, because I was like, someone has to know. But yeah, that's basically it. I don't really have anything else to say. I just thank you for listening. I feel like I kind of rambled a little bit, but I just needed to tell someone besides my mom. It's definitely something super interesting. I don't know how much I believe in like the other side. I mean, I'm definitely believe in like demons and angels, so I don't know if that had something to do with it. But I don't know. There's definitely something going on there. And that's about it. I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for sitting through this. Happy spooky season. I might do some back to school videos for like college students, because it's that time of the year and college is hard. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe if you wanna. It really helps out my channel, and I will see you in my next video.
Put down the weapons you fight.